Okay, so in this video, what I want to do is break down our entire A to Z content system, like literally nothing held back, that we're using not only for ourselves and what we have used over the last handful of years to generate over $10 million in cash collected just strictly from organic, but also what we're using with a handful of other clients to help them do the same thing. This is just a handful of them, but we've helped over 4,000 people over the last handful of years to implement these exact same systems that I'm gonna go over in this video. So if you are someone that knows that content is gonna need to be a part of your strategy going into 2020 or in 2025, as well as, over the next 12 to 18 months, then this video is gonna be for you. We'll touch on that here in a second as well. But if you don't believe that, then, probably not the best video for you. If you want this entire document as well, and kind of some notes that you can take along with watching this video, is just go over to Instagram and DM me the word blueprint, and I'll actually send you over a Google Doc with some of the main takeaways and some of these graphics too, so you don't have to draw out these graphics, so you understand exactly what's going on in these videos. So again, DM me the word blueprint over on Instagram. I'll put my my username, Aaron Makes Content, down in the description as well. So I always like to start with why should you listen to me, right? You're going to spend some time with me over the next 20-30 minutes on this video. So you should understand, why should you listen to what I have to say? So this is the same system and also systems that a lot of the biggest brands in the industry, these are people that we've personally helped. People like, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Cardone Ventures, Frank Kern, Ryan Serhant, Brooke Castillo. We've helped all these people implement a lot of the similar systems into their business. And honestly, they had a lot of the organic content and the brand already figured out before we even worked with them, but we basically helped them put it on steroids. And then these are also just some people that I've personally talked to within our program. Just they're on this channel if you want to go check it out, where, going through them a little bit. At the top, we have $70,000 in 60 days. We helped Rebecca hit some enterprise deals, 400K added per year for RJ, right, or RC there, 250K a month, helping Devin hit that. We have Gab and Brian, we helped them hit $5 million a year, 0 to 400,000 with Sarah Gibson, 4.5 million a year added from Mr. Aaron Platt up there at the top right, Zarar helping him hit 350K a month, Matt helping hit 200K a month, and Daniel helping him hit $300,000 every single month. Again, we've helped over 4,000 people. I like to put this in there just so you're like, okay, this guy's the real deal. These guys know what they're talking about. And yeah, just want to throw that in there for you guys so you understand. So first things first, guys, is let's talk about who this video is for and who it's not for. So number one, if you know that content is going to be the way to get the most out of your advertising or, just organically in general, this is going to be a video for you. Also, number two is if you've started with content, but you may not have the best strategy in place, this is going to be for you because I'm going to go over our strategy. Number three is if you already have a strong strategy, if you're already posting on social and you think that it's going well, I might be able to kind of point you in the right direction of saying some things that could be better. We've had a ton of people, a great example, a couple weeks ago, we had someone come in that has 2 million YouTube subscribers. But when I started to look at their channel, there was a lot of small things that we could literally quadruple their business by literally changing a couple things. So this could still be for you if you already have a strong organic strategy. And for number four, this is not going to be for you if you don't think that content's important, if you're not willing to make YouTube videos, if you're not willing to make Instagram content with the understanding that you're going to get so much better results from everything else that you're doing, then yeah, this video is probably not for you. So you can click off the video. I'll give you a second. Okay, bye. All right, now that he's gone. So as we come over here to the old way of doing things, really what I'm gonna break down is the old way in terms of organic, as well as the old way in terms of ads, because these things, they are all intertwined. Do you need to be spending money on ads for this to work? Not necessarily, but we'll cover that here in just a second. So the old way of doing things, and honestly, you might even be doing this if you're number one or number two, this is probably still what you're doing, is you are posting on platforms, right? You are being diligent with it, and you're posting on YouTube, right? You're posting on TikTok, you're posting on Instagram, you're posting on LinkedIn, you're maybe running some ads. But the issue with this is a couple things, right? Number one is it's a very scattered strategy, which leads to number two. There's no real direction or strategy in general, right? There's a lack of a strategy there. And what happens is it becomes very hard to two things. Number one, it becomes hard to scale the current efforts that you're doing because there is no strategy behind it. And it also becomes very hard for you to justify the time that you're spending into the content because there is no strategy. I know a lot of people, one person specifically that comes to mind is I know they're consistent, right? They're posting every single day on Instagram, on Facebook, but I've talked to them before and they're like, yeah, I'm not generating anything from this content, right? No sales, no leads or anything. And it's not because they're not doing the work. It's just because they don't have the right strategy or a strategy in place in general to do that. So this is where a lot of people are struggling, is they think that they're posting on social media and it's going well. And heck, maybe they are posting on social media, like I said a second ago. Maybe they're posting, but it's just not working at the highest level that it could, because there's just some little tweaks that could be made. So if this is you and you feel like everything's fine and you're posting and you think it's okay to post once a day and not generate $10, $20, $30, $50,000 a month from that, you're going to want to watch the rest of this video, because I think it'll be able to help you out a ton. So that's the old way, and maybe the current way that you're currently implementing social media. But let's talk about the old way of ads as well. So, and to be honest, this is still the same way that a lot of people do it. To be honest, it's the same thing we were doing about a year and a half ago. But once we started making these changes, it started to work a whole lot better in our favor. So generally what's going to happen is people are going to run some ads, right? And those ads are going to push to some sort of opt-in page, right? An opt-in page collects their name, phone number, email. Once that's collected, it's going to send them to the VSL, or the video sales letter, where in this video, basically it sells them on themselves, on the mechanism, on the product, and ultimately pitches them to book a call with a closer or for themselves. And then that is how they ultimately become a client. Now, the thing is, this isn't work. So here's the thing. I'm not going to sit here in this video and say like, this is not going to work. You shouldn't be doing this, because I'd be a hypocrite, because this is exactly what we're doing. But we just do it in a little bit of a different way that makes it perform so much better. So this is why this doesn't really work as much or as high level as it used to. And then there's weird overlap on those bubbles here. So let's break down why each of these aren't working as well. So first things first is your ad costs, right? Ad costs are through the roof. If you ask anyone that's spending any significant amount of money on ads, is ad costs in terms of cost per lead, cost per call, cost per MQL, cost per everything is way, way up. Also, because those ad costs coming up, the reason it's going up is because there's more competition and people are just stealing from each other. We made this ad back in 2021 that's the angle was, we will do this thing for you, right? We'll place you with setters or closers, or you don't pay. If you scroll on social media for 30 seconds and you're in this like same algorithm, I promise you're going to see someone that has basically stole that, right? They say, and I'm not saying steal in a negative way, but they stole like an artist and they're emulating the ad, and they also included, or you don't pay. Because of that, every single ad is saying, or you don't pay, or you don't pay, or you don't pay. And guess what? That promise or that guarantee starts to stop working, because everyone's doing it, and then things just start to get way more complex, right? You start have to incorporate, not VSLs, but webinars, and people are switching to school communities, and they're doing all these different things because the ads just aren't working as best as they could, right? Or how they used to, because there wasn't as much competition. Also, this part is very, very important, is the opt-in. People are much more aware these days, especially if you're in B2B, right? If you're in the B2B space, it's the same reason we actually took our opt-in off of our pages on basically all our funnels, is because if someone's in B2B, they know the reason, right? They know why this is happening. They know the reason you're asking for their email is to add you to their email list, and you're asking for their phone number so you can outbound call those people. So what happens, because they are more aware, is they give fake information, fake email, fake phone number. Like a lot of these softwares, there are softwares that can like kind of help with that, but I've seen, 555, 555, 5555, or 123, 456, 789, 10. Well, I guess 10 wouldn't work, but you get what I'm saying, right? So it's just not working as much anymore. So you're paying for fake leads, right? You're paying for fake information where you can never actually get in contact with them. Now, I did put here the VSL, because if we really break down the purpose of the VSL, which we'll talk about here in a second, is the purpose of the VSL is to just sell them on your mechanism, on you and on the product. So by the sheer nature of that just being a video, like it still performs well. Now, I'm not talking about like if your VSL is bad, then that's obviously not going to work, but just the sheer nature of it being a VSL, it still works, right? So I put still a solid method, but again, people know what's happening. They know that they're watching that video on that landing page, so you can eventually sell them something, either sell them the product or you sell them to book a call with your closers or with yourself. But again, because everything, the whole trust recession and people are just seeing these things for such a long time, is booking rates, show rates, and close rates are basically in the toilet for a lot of people, because people know what's going on in these sales calls. So, that's the problem, right? And I started to really dive into this because a big part of what I do in the company is on the marketing side, and dive into, how can we just make these systems better? How can we still take what we're already doing, but build more trust and get people down the funnel a lot further, and then just have them trust us a lot more by the time they get on a sales call? And so I started to do a deep dive, and I started to look at, I talked to some of our closers, and I looked at some of the applications, and I wanted to ask this question: where are the best clients coming from? right? Where are the best, most warmed up clients coming from? And after talking to our closers and our sales team and listening to call reviews, is the common denominator for all these different people were that they had watched YouTube videos, they had watched Instagram content, they had seen enough videos to ultimately come back into the fold and convert, right? And actually feel like they have enough trust and there's enough authority on our company for them to fully believe that we can help them solve their problem. So what I started to realize is this is not the way that clients are generated anymore, right? They don't just go through this really easy process because there's more competition. There's more people that have your offer that is doing the exact same thing. So this is a little bit more realistic of what this process looks like. Is what's happening is they're still seeing an ad right from the front end because you are paying for those impressions, but they are opting in probably with fake information, right? If we're being honest, they're still giving the fake information. They might watch a little bit of the VSL, but because, like I said up here, they know what's going on, right? They know what's happening in this video. So they might watch like 2 minutes of it and then bounce because they're like, well, I know I'm going to probably be sold at some point, so I'm going to leave. But what we started to notice is people would, they would see the ad, and then what would happen is maybe they did go through this process here, but usually they would just go to Instagram and they would follow us on Instagram. But then what happens when they follow us on Instagram? Well, they're following now, so they get notifications for content, but they scroll around, right? They're scrolling through different videos. They go from there, and then they're going to the YouTube channel, and we can track all this stuff, right? Through the back end, we can see, okay, they click the ad, they watch this, they watch through all this content, and finally they booked a call, right? But they would binge watch videos. And they would go through those videos and they would probably come back to the Instagram and, we would post on Instagram because we're doing it consistently. They'd get that out the top of their feed. They'd see their story and they would just see the brand over and over and over again and slowly building that trust through the type of content that's being created. And then naturally what happens is one of two things. Is they would finally see enough content through YouTube or through Instagram is that they would go through and book on the, through the DMs and, you can have a conversation in the DMs and we'll talk about how to strategically do this here in a second. But, they go into the DMs or even what they would do is they would go to our profile and they would go to the IG bio because the IG bio was optimized in the most correct way. And we'll talk about that again here in a second. But the IG bio was optimized to push them down the funnel, get them to click the link in bio and actually apply to work with us versus again, what was happening up at the top that isn't working anymore. So it is very much so, yes, more complicated, but this is just what happens. Like this is what needs to happen and the content that needs to be in place in order for you to convert at the highest level possible. Now, I'll just be straight up. Like if you're fine with your ad metrics and you're fine with those going up and you don't really care that you could be getting more from your content, from your funnels, then yeah, don't implement this. But if you're like, I want to get more from this, I want to get better lead costs, I want to build more trust, I want to generate the best types of clients, then it's inevitable that this needs to be done through your funnel. So this is just some evidence here to show you how powerful this is and what happens. So this was like over a 3-hour period is we had, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so about 12 followers, right? Over a 3-hour period. And if you look at these people here, these are all direct evidence of it says this person followed you from your ad, 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 right? So now what's happening is if this is happening, let's say, multiple times, if we're using a 3-hour period, for example, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, right? So eight times, let's say 6, whatever that math is, right? 42. People are going to roast me if that's wrong. 42 or 48. I know I was terrible at math. Okay. Don't yell at me, but let's say 48 opportunities of people that are now in your inbox that are now watching your content times 30, right? I'm not going to even try to do that math, but that's a lot of people, right? That's a good amount of people that instead of going and booking calls, they're going to your content to see if this person actually is doing, right? If you were the person and you can actually do what you're saying that you can do, right? You can actually fulfill on that promise. And here's the caveat too, is let's say they do go through this process and they look at the ad and they go to Instagram and you're not consistently posting content. What are they going to think? They're going to think this person's a scam. They're going to think, oh, I went to this page and the last time they posted was 6 months ago. Immediate red flag. And guess what they're going to do? Now you've done the heavy lifting. You've got them interested in whatever this concept is. They're going to go to YouTube or they're going to go to Instagram or they're going to get hit with a suggested profile through Instagram and they're going to look at their content. And, oh, maybe they have a story up. Oh, they've posted every single day. Oh, well, now that person's mind is already going. Now they're just going to go to that person and they're more optimized and they're going to convert with them, right? They're going to go down their funnel. They're going to work with them because they're being consistent and building the trust with the person that's already in the mindset that they want to do something, right? Maybe they don't want to buy yet, but they want to do something. Now, that actually brings me to the next point here. Or actually, there's one small little piece here, is this OMG crazy stat. After I did this whole analysis, where are their best clients coming from? Well, this whole process here of this indoctrination sequence we'll talk about is over 50% of our clients came from some sort of system like this. Now, did they go through and watch Instagram and watch YouTube and do this whole thing? No, but it's over 50% of people that converted that followed. Maybe they just followed an Instagram and then that's all they needed to see and then they booked. But still, 50% of our clients did that. Now, I can't. I've fought with my business partner Cole all the time on this, and because I can't make the argument that would they have not become a client and converted at some point, right? Like, is the 50% just out the window? Not necessarily, but what I can say is that they converted a lot faster because of this, right? Because they went through that process. So again, I can't make the argument that they were like directly attributed and whatever, but the social media content had some sort of pull in them actually making the decision, whether it was to book a call, make that first step, or to to ultimately become a client. So I want to explain these two things really quickly, these two different graphs, because this is very important. People are like, oh, okay, cool content, but I need to explain to you why content works well, just so you just understand. You can put it in like your back pocket and be like, okay, this is why I'm creating the content. This is why it's important. So I talked about this section here a second ago, the buy zone, right? What makes people want to buy? Well, for people to want to buy, they need to be sold on, and they need to trust in three different things. They need to be sold on the method, they need to be sold on you, and they need to be sold on the product. So what does that mean? So selling on you is pretty simple, right? They need to just look at you and trust that you are going to be the best and most amazing person and most efficient person that is going to teach them to get to their end result, right? So that would be trust in you. That's pretty easy. They need to trust you in order to buy. They also need to be sold on the method, right? So the method is just the way that you teach to help them hit that end result. And then the product is essentially what they're buying, right? Are they buying your course? Are they buying your program, your mentorship, whatever? So I'll give you a couple examples, right? I think you and product probably makes sense, but with the method, pretty much think about it like this. If you have, let's say you're a health coach. I swear I can spell, I promise. So you're a health coach. And your specific method would be a couple different things, right? Your method might be carnivore. Your method might be keto. Your method might be, HIIT exercises is the best way to do that. Your best way is, what is another thing? Maybe you're telling people to go vegan, right? That's the best way to lose weight, right? This is the mechanism. So they need to be sold that carnivore is the best way to, and then, end result, right? End result is, lose weight. We'll just, you can lose weight, build muscle, whatever, build confidence. So they need to understand that they need to be sold on you as the health coach, and that the method, right, the method that you're teaching is the fastest and most possible way to hit their end result, right? So that's pretty much what you're doing with content is going to sell them a lot of times on your YouTube videos or Instagram, whatever, is selling them on the method. And in you, it's just the product a lot of times, unless you're like selling on the webinar or selling on the VSL, the product is going to be what is sold on the sales call. Sales call. And what you'll notice as well is the VSL, right? If you run some sort of VSL, the VSL is basically doing this as well, right? Through the VSL, a lot of times you're selling them on, this is where I was before. This is the struggles that I had before. So you're selling them on you. And then the whole point of the VSL is to sell them on why carnivore diet in this example is the best possible way to hit your end result. If we take like a step back and just look at this as the most meta video possible, is you're watching this video and you're getting sold on me, right? You're getting sold on me through all this evidence and all this iPad screen share. You're being sold on me. You're listening to me. You're listening to my mannerism. You're listening to my story, right? You're being sold on me at this very moment. Maybe not. Maybe you're not going to be sold at the very end, but you're building up those trust points, right? And then my method is this organic system, right? I'm selling you on the fact that this organic method is going to be the best possible and most efficient way to generate leads from your business, convert more leads from your business, right? And the product, I haven't gotten there yet. Full transparency, I'm not selling you anything on this product. You're not going to hear a pitch or anything at the end of this to buy a product. So one more thing that you need to understand in terms of content and why this works so well is this. This is called the levels of awareness. Essentially what this means is everyone that you come in contact with in relation to your product is going to fall into one of these 5 categories. They're going to be least aware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, or most aware. So what this means and what content does is essentially every single piece of content. And by the way, for people to be the most sold, they need to be the most aware. They need to be aware of all these things in order to buy from you. Very similar to kind of what we talked about here. This is just a little more granular. And when the coldest prospects possible are going to be the ones that are down here. So if we're using the same example, right, of the health coach, is least aware is literally someone saying, I have no idea that I am not in good shape, right? If someone doesn't think that they're in good shape, they're probably not going to buy your product, right? Those are the least aware people. Problem aware in that same example would be, okay, like my back hurts. Or no. Yeah, actually, so problem aware, right? Pain aware is, okay, my back hurts. So now they're a little bit more aware that they need to probably lose some weight if they're, they have back pain or their feet hurt all the time or whatever it may be, right? Or maybe they just they have something internally that hurts and it's something to do with them being overweight or whatever. Is they are now problem aware, right? So they're going to be a lot more receptive to your marketing message or your ad or whatever it may be, because they're like, oh, I have back pain, right? Solution aware is going to be, okay, they understand that back pain is a problem, and they also understand that they need to lose some weight in order to fix that problem, right? So that means that they're solution aware. Now, product aware is that they are, again, they know they have back pain, they know that they need to lose weight, and they also are familiar with, that you have a program, right? And then the most aware would be okay, they're already sold, they're aware of everything, they know the exact processes, and they are going to buy every single time. Why I'm explaining this to you is because when you're creating content, it is what you are doing is speeding up this process, right? So if we're talking about content ideas, is your first content idea, and we'll talk about this here in a second, your first content idea is basically what you're doing is you're bringing them up with every single video that you make, and you could do multiple, but let's say this specific video here, right? Least aware. The way that I would make a video for a least aware person is saying, hey, so, you might feel like, if you're watching this video, you might feel like, maybe you don't feel the best that you've always had. You don't feel the way that you did when you were 30 years old and blah, 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 right? So what I'm doing is I'm increasing their awareness, and the person is saying, yeah, I don't feel as great as I used to, right? I don't feel as young as I used to. So it's now you're bringing them up to that level of awareness. Now they're in that problem aware state. And then you would create another video that would be more around that problem. It's like, hey, so if you find that you have back pain, the issue that a lot of times is going to happen is because you might be carrying a lot of extra weight, and yeah, that's going to be the problem, right? So what you can see is every single video is strategically bringing them up the ladder, and it's exactly why, again, back to the VSL, is usually when you're creating a VSL, basically what you're doing in the entire VSL is you're bringing them up to the very top, and you're making the pitch when they're most aware around all those things, right? And again, in this case, the pitch could be, to move to the next stage, right? A webinar, or a sales call, or you can actually sell them on the webinar itself. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have questions or anything on that, just let me know. But this is when I understood these two graphs, I got so fired up to create content and be consistent with it, because it's I knew, instead of just creating a hook or creating whatever, it's when you understand exactly what the type of content you're creating and the reason you're doing it, it makes it so much more fun. I'll add one little thing here, if we're, to these both things, is selling on you and the method is very, very difficult on a sales call, which again, if we're talking about they need to be sold in these 3 things, if they're not already sold in those things, it is going to be very difficult to do that on a sales call, because they're assuming that you are there just to sell them something, and they think that you're going to sell them and say things you need to get them to be sold on you and the method on the call, right? You just look at this very salesy person, versus if you can do the selling of all those things through content, they're getting on the call just needing to be sold on the product. Or heck, a lot of times people that I've talked to from YouTube sales calls is they jump in the call and they're like, hey, listen, I'm already sold. I want to buy. I just have a couple questions, right? What's the price? What's the investment? How long is it? Things like that. So it makes it, do you want to be on a 45-minute sales call where you're having to strong arm someone? Or do you want to be on a sales call where literally you're having a 10-minute sales call and literally the call is just to collect payment? I don't know. I like the latter. So let's bring this entire thing full circle. This is the exact strategy we're going to go over here in a second, but I want you to just come back and refresh you on what's mostly and what a lot of people are doing is they're just posting on YouTube, they're posting on Instagram, they're doing some ads. Everything is very separate. But what we do with our strategic content method, and we'll call it the optimized content system. I just came up with that right now. The optimized content method is we're doing it in a very strategic way. So this is exactly what we do is each and every video will intentionally push to the next video in the series. And then you have a giveaway or a doc that you give at the beginning of the message or the beginning of the video where you message them and you ask them to message you on Instagram. So let me just break this down. At the beginning of this video, again, very meta, I said, send me the message blueprint on Instagram and I'll send that over to you. You probably already at this point, if you did that, you got an automation message that said, hey, here's that document. But what also happened is you got a follow-up message. And that follow-up message says something along the lines of, hey, just curious, are you just here for the content, the free content, or are you actively looking to implement content into your business? Something along those lines, right? So what we've done is instead of creating a YouTube video, putting it out there, and hopefully they click the link in the description, is we have not necessarily I don't want this to sound like I'm not trying to trick you guys, right? But it's just in a way, psychologically what happens is I'm giving you a free resource, but guess what? Now I have you on Instagram. Now you probably followed me on Instagram. Now you're going to see all the stuff that I put on Instagram when I do CTAs, when I do all these different things, right? We'll talk about that here in a second, but you want to have that at every single one of your videos is, hey, go to this next, go to my Instagram and send me this message. And even if you don't convert the same day, right? You don't jump in a sales call with me. It's fine because you're just now you're following me on Instagram. And hopefully this doesn't make you unfollow me on Instagram because you've fallen for my trick. But yeah, so that's what happens is every single video you create is going to have some sort of message or CTA at the beginning of the video. Again, this is very important, is you want to have it at the beginning because that's when the most people are on the video. So let's break this down. So that's just to give you context of what's going to happen at the beginning of each video. But the way you break this down is you break this into your pillar videos. So you have YouTube VSL, which, spoiler alert, this is my YouTube VSL. This is very meta, and people are probably gonna be pissed off at me. But I'm doing what I'm teaching. You know what I mean? So basically, your YouTube VSL is like your end all be all in one video that's like, hey, here's why my thing works, right? It's basically take your VSL, don't take your VSL and upload to YouTube, make a new one that's specifically for YouTube. That's just your end all be all video, right? And then what's going to happen is at the beginning, and let me break down the pillars first. So your pillar videos is basically what you want to think about is taking each of your videos you want to take your process of what you do to help people and break that into 5 different core steps. Because usually that's just how it's going to go, right? For me, my videos are going to be, okay, YouTube VSL at the beginning. And then number 1 is how to create a good offer. The second one is going to be how to generate leads, right? The third one is going to be how to make sure that the leads are in the best, are getting converted at the highest rate, right? I'm going to have a bunch of different videos. And each of those videos is going to intentionally push to the next one. So the way that I would do that is at the end of this video, for example, I'm going to end this video with something like, hey, so this video, hopefully it was super helpful, but what I want you to do is actually check out this next video that's going to help you in XYZ way because of blah, blah, blah. So click the video on screen, right? So actually this is the VSL, so I actually won't do it at the end of this one, but I will on the next one, right? So YouTube VSL, let me actually delete this because that will stand on its own, but my pillar video, first one, I'm going to talk about foundations. At the end of that one, I'm going to say, so by the way, this video was really helpful, but for you to actually understand the full context of how this fits into everything is go ahead and check out the next video, the video you see on screen, and it's going to help you blah, 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 benefit, benefit, benefit. So what I'm really doing here is a couple things. Number 1 is they're watching this video, or let me change the color here. They're watching this video. In theory, they're going to make it to the end and it's going to push them to the next video. But remember, I asked them, DM me the word here, but they're going to make it to this video and I'm going to ask them to DM again. So now what I'm seeing is I'm creating this binge process for them. I'm forcing them into the binge process because guess what? If I go to my Instagram DMs and see that they've DM'd me 5 different keywords, I know that they're going through that entire process, right? And I could just mentally make a note. Okay, this person went through 5, and there's ways to set this up through automation. But they went through this entire process, and not only does this work really, really well for YouTube, because YouTube there's this metric that they call a session time, and it's not binge time. That's basically what it is they track if they come to watch your video, how many of your other videos that they're watching. So you're basically pushing them down the series. And guess what? By the end of the series, you're forcing them to be indoctrinated into you, into your brand, and to be sold on all these things, right? At that point, if you're making 20-minute videos, I mean, that's 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, right? 2 hours of content they're watching, not to mention some of the other content that you're watching on your channel. So here's where we start to take this on steroids is that's great. YouTube videos set up, title, thumbnail, they're all set up in a way that they could perform by themselves. But here's where we're going to go ahead and add some fuel to the fire. A little bit of fuel, and then we'll show you how to do more fuel. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to, in these videos, you're going to pull out 5 to 7 short form pieces of content they're going to post on YouTube. Now, can you just like take the video, cut stuff out, repurpose the content? Sure, you can do that if you want to. But the most optimized way that you're going to do it is you're going to, take your video, you're going to throw it into ChatGPT, for example, or the transcript. I'll make some videos on exactly how to do this in the next couple ones. But you're going to basically take the transcript of your video. You're going to throw it into ChatGPT or Poppy's one that I like to use. And you're going to say, hey, ChatGPT, I want you to give me 5 different short form pieces of content that I can use on Instagram as a standalone piece of content. And then you're just going to record those separately because what happens is, can you repurpose them? Yeah, they're just not going to perform as well as if you were to do a specific video that's like, here's this way to achieve X, Y, and Z. So like, I'll just give you a direct example is let's say, I'll just use this video for example. Let's say I want to pull content from this video I'm making right now. I put the transcript into ChatGPT. It's probably going to tell me, talk about, the Venn diagram, right? So the way I'm going to make a video, instead of splicing out a piece of content, I'm going to say, hey, if I'm making this short form video, I'm going to say, you will not make another sale in your life unless you understand this content trick, right? That hook is way better than anything I would have pulled from this, this video retroactively. So then I would talk about, hey, this is that thing. The trick is being sold on you and the method and the product, blah, blah, blah. But here's what's most important is at the end of the video, I'm going to CTA to the full video. So I'm going to say, you've probably seen the automations. I have a ton of automations as well, is at the end of the video, I'm going to say, and by the way, I put together an entire X amount long video around this process. If you want it, comment whatever my keyword is, right? Video 1 in that series, and I'll send you over the full video. So now you're creating this loop of content and you're forcing people into it. And the reason I like to do this is because number one is through the short form content, you're going to generate a different audience than you are going to have from YouTube short form itself, right? And when you do this, you are turning this short form viewer, not only from someone that is going to watch organically, like YouTube organic is not as easy to grow as, let's say, a YouTube organic, for example. YouTube organic is a lot harder to grow than like Instagram organic. I can have one video that like absolutely pops off, gets 100,000 views, and I push a bunch of people to my YouTube video. But guess what's happening now? I'm getting excited about this. Is instead of them just like having to binge watch like 30 seconds here, 60 seconds here through short form, now you're pushing them to your long form content, which is going to push them back through the CTA. And now you turn someone that just watched a short form piece of content into someone that is binge watching your other content and is now DMing you on Instagram, and you can have a conversation with them to then get them on a sales call. I'll just like drop the mic now because like this right now is just, no one's doing this, right? Everyone is doing what I talked about back here, right? They're posting randomly on social, but this is a game changer. So a couple other things that you can add to this, right? If you'd have an email list, you can start to email the people that are on your list these YouTube videos. Now, what I put here is a 7-day buffer period. The reason I put this here is the biggest mistake that people make on YouTube is they will post on YouTube and they'll get discouraged when they have 2 or 3 views because YouTube doesn't push it out immediately. And, they don't test it like they do on Reels or TikTok, and they want that dopamine push. Is YouTube, it takes a little bit of time. But what happens if you start to send this immediately out to your email list, you post it on your social media platforms, what's going to happen is people they're gonna see that on on their email. They might click on it, but they're not really in that mode to watch a long form video just yet. They're going to click that video and they're going to watch that 20-minute video you put together. They're going to watch it for like 13 seconds. But guess what that does to YouTube? That tells them, oh, YouTube looks at that and they're like, yeah, this is like a bad video. I'm not going to push, anyone else to this video because 20 people, let's say, from your social media or 1,000 people from your email list, they only watch like 10 seconds of it. So this is a bad video and YouTube doesn't push it. So what I found is like, can a video that you put out there, can it be out there and, generate views over a 14-day period and maybe day 14 it pops off? Sure. But what I found is like within the first 7 days, you'll have a pretty good understanding if YouTube is going to like really push it out to the masses. And if it does, I would just skip this step altogether, to be honest, because you don't want to like hinder the video's performance. But after 7 days, pretty much fair game to some of those people there. But what you're also going to do is you're going to post Instagram stories, right? You're going to push Instagram stories that say something like, hey, I put together this video around how I was able to do XYZ, how my client lost 40 pounds by doing the system, or how I personally lost 50 pounds by implementing the system. You were going to then push them, hey, respond to this story, this specific keyword. And then again, you set up automation to do it. It is going to then push them back to the YouTube video and they're going to watch that long form video. So that, and then, ultimately what happens, like I said here, is all these people are going to start sending this inbound keyword doc. What you could do also here as well is you can collect emails before you actually do that all through automation. This is going to then lead to your Instagram DMs, where you go ahead and do that DM script that I talked about earlier, right? It's like, hey, you're here for the free content, or you actively looking to grow the business. Here's what's going to happen is a lot of times, I'd say, 70% of people do say, oh, I'm just here for the free content. But what's going to happen is after they go down the system, you're building up that indoctrination, right? You're forcing them through the sequence, and it's going to get to a point where inevitably what's going to happen is because they're interested in that thing, they're going to book with you. It's just inevitable. It's not a matter of like, are they going to? It's a matter of when they are going to, and then ultimately they're going to set with a sales call. I'll make, further videos around the specific scripts and automations and all that kind of stuff, but I just want you to understand like how powerful this is and just start introducing these first handful of videos. So now we understand that part. How do we add fuel to the fire? Right? How do we make this strategy go absolutely gangbusters? Never have to worry about where your next client is coming from. And there's a couple things that we can do. So basically what we do over here is you can see these 6 out of every 12 people, and that's not like, 50% every single time, but there is going to be a good portion of people that come from your ads. But there's a couple different ways you can do it. There's really 2 different strategies that I kind of look at here. You can do a direct follower ad, direct follow ad, which basically is literally an ad that you put out there on Facebook or Instagram. You literally boost the post on Instagram, and it's like, hey, I talk about X, Y, and Z. If you want to learn exactly how you can get end result, then go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I'm dropping around all the secrets. All right. Again, I'll do some different videos on it, but that's like, for the most part, you can look at that. If you look at anyone else in your space, there's probably someone that's doing that. Or number 2, if you're someone that is already running ads, you've been running ads for a long time. Usually I'll just call this like spillover traffic, which is pretty much what we have. Because right now we don't, I'm working on this right now, but we actually don't have direct follower ads. But what we do have is people that are basically following this process that I talked about over here, right? Is they're seeing our ad, they're going through the opt-in, they're seeing our ad, they're going through the opt-in, and then they're following us on Instagram, right? So this is probably like, if you're already running ads, this is probably already happening for you. And there's a couple different things you're going to do. You're going to follow the exact same process, right? Up here, it's literally copying and pasting. The only difference is instead of this happening organically, right? All this video series here, instead of this happening organically, you are literally running ads on Instagram. They're immediately coming onto your Instagram, they're following, and then now they're seeing everything get pushed to your YouTube channel, and that's where the process starts. But what you can also do, that's like a little bit of a sneaky hack here, is you actually outbound, we'll do 2.5, you outbound all followers. This we've been doing, and we're generating an extra like 3 to 4 sales call every single day by doing this, right? Outbounding all the followers with this literally basic, simple method. And I got this from, I think Alex Ramosi talks about this, a couple other people, but literally the message is very simple. Someone follows you, right? One of these people from over here, and you click their little profile and you go to their page. And here's the cool thing too, is you can like vet them, right? If I'm going through and I see, I don't know, maybe this isn't the best example, but this profile picture, I don't know, maybe not the best person, but this guy right here, these 2 guys here, right? They have profile. Heck, this guy's even, he's verified, right? I can like literally disqualify and qualify people on this call, or on this, what's it called? On the profile itself. So all I'm going to do is outbound the followers, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, hey, John, hey, whatever name, appreciate the follow. Just curious, are you here for the free content? Like we said earlier, right? Are you just here for the free content, or are you actively looking to grow your business? Right? That's what I would say. Are you actively looking to implement these content systems in your business? If they say free content, okay, cool. Thanks for following, hang out here. If they don't, if they say, hey, right, we were talking about this inbound keyword or the doc keyword, this is also going to lead to, leads on DMs. We outbound them. And then now we're having the conversation. If they say they're there to actively invest or actively start content, then we're going to do a really easy, disqualifying script. Where are you currently? Where do you want to be? What's holding you back? What have you tried in the past? And then we're going to set them for the sales call. These are people that are already, I promise you, if you're running ads, you're already getting follows. But if you're not creating content, you're not actively reaching out to those people, and you're not actively nurturing those people, you are quite literally, everyone says this, but you're leaving money on the table and you're throwing it in the trash, right? Because other people that are actively reaching out, that are actively creating content, are taking those clients, right? They are going to sign them if they're doing all the things that I'm talking about. So that is a high level overview of how the content strategy works. And last thing that I'll cover here is tracking. So this is like, I used to hate math problems, and earlier I said I was not the best at math. I used to hate math. I used to hate spreadsheets. I used to hate all these things. But when Cole Gordon, when I realized, and he told me the story of how this was the main thing that just really changed the business, his business of looking at metrics on a daily basis, is when I started doing it, I was like, holy crap. I'm going to implement this in every area of my life, right? I'm going to do it for my personal finances. I'm going to do it for, the ads tracking. I'm going to do it for my relationship with my wife. I'm going to track all these different things, obviously not needing to go overboard with it, but just what gets tracked and what gets measured gets done, right? So what I would do is take this as an example, a spreadsheet, is I want you to fill this out on an everyday basis. So I'm recording this on the 30th, but you basically put on the left side, you put all the dates. And every single day, what you're going to do is you're going to write out what you do. So let's say you posted one piece of content, and at the very beginning, you might not get a ton of stuff from this, right? But then what's going to happen is you're going to start to see, okay, I posted here, and then there's a compound effect, right? So maybe you booked 2 calls here, and both of those showed up, and maybe you closed one of them, and you collected $8K, right? And that was a PIF because it's through organic content, right? But what you're gonna start to see is 2 things. Number 1, again, what gets measured gets done. So on an everyday basis, you can start to see that, okay, I'm making this amount of money, but more importantly is you can start to identify bottlenecks. So for example, let's say you're posting every single day, but nothing's working, nothing's happening. Well, now what you can do is make the assumption that, okay, it's probably because the posted content I'm putting out there might not be that good, might not be that great. Maybe you need to hire Aaron to teach me the right types of content to create, right? Or let's say, this is all going good and you're staying consistent, you're posting 3 times and 2 times, whatever. And let's say you're getting 110 booked calls, but then let's say, only 20 of them are showing. I will tell you, if we're talking about show rates is a massive issue in the online space right now. And organic content, if I'm comparing and contrasting our ad show rates, probably hovers between 60%, 65%, at the highest, to be honest. Show rates for organic, over 80%, honestly, some days even over 90%, right? Because you've built up this trust, and it's they almost feel bad because there's this reciprocity of the amount of time they've spent with you, and they feel like they'd be ghosting a friend versus ghosting this random ad that they saw for 20 seconds. You know what I mean? But again, in this case, is you can start to identify bottlenecks. With this, is I would say, okay, this show rate's not good. What can we do in this to make this number higher, right? Same thing here. Let's say we had, on this day, we had, I don't know, let's say we had 10 calls show and we closed 1 of them. Obviously, we can start to look at, I promise that's not going to be what it is if you're doing organic, but in this case, we can start to identify bottlenecks and see, okay, it's because my sales process isn't that great. And then, let's say you're collecting $200 on a $10,000 product. Well, yeah, we need to start to figure out how can we, get the cash collected up and be a little bit closer to that revenue. So, these are just hypothetical scenarios, obviously, but if you're not already tracking on a daily basis, again, it does 2 things. Number 1, what gets tracked, get measured, gets done. It gives you visibility, actual visibility behind your business and the metrics and the tracking and all that kind of stuff. But also, it even holds you accountable, right? You can start to see, what am I doing or what am I not doing, right? Does your posted content section look like 0? Well, how can you expect anything to happen if your posted content 0 or whatever the front end metrics is, right? This works for anything. This could be spent on ads. This could be, outbound dials. This could be follow-ups, whatever it is numbers do not lie unless you're like inaccurately putting them in, which is like a whole other problem in and of itself. So I highly recommend implementing tracking is going to be the best thing for you. So all that being said, 2 things really quickly before you leave this video. Number 1 is if you want this exact process, everything from A to Z exactly, not necessarily done for you, but really me holding your hand through the process of what types of videos do I need to put in these pillar contents? Can you, take and just copy and paste your entire automation system so I don't really have to think about, okay, does it go to GHL? Does it go to ManyChat? Does it go to this? Does it go to that? What should be the keywords? How do I set up the automation? How do I do this doc? How do I do that? Like, what is the DM process? Like, if you want all that stuff literally in a program right now, you can click the first link down in the description. Or maybe the second link. It's going to be a conversation link where you can book a call with me or someone on my team. We'll walk you through exactly how we're going to do that for you. At the very least, you can leave even which is an action plan on how to do that. Or what you can do is click the video on screen and it's going to bring you through basically step number 1. You're going to my pillar 1 video here. Pillar 1 video is going to be around foundations and setting up the right offer, because if you don't have the right offer, no one's going to buy your stuff anyway. So all around offer creation, what we've done to build multiple 8-figure companies. Click the video on screen and we'll see you guys on the inside.